Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'll cover the brand new firmware that was just released by DJI for their Smart Controller, which now makes this product completely compatible with the Mavic Air 2 and the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. Now, I love this Smart Controller. I've talked about it on the channel ever since the product was released, and I use it pretty much every day when I'm flying my Mavic 2 Zoom and my Mavic 2 Pro. It also works with the Mavic 2 Enterprise, and for me, it's like the perfect control device because everything you need is in this package, so it makes it really simple to get up in the air and start flying. You've got one product you need to charge. You can charge this, charge your drones, and head out and start flying. If you're using the other controllers, you're always worrying about, is the cable going to work? Is the application going to work on the phone that I've got? If I do a firmware update, will the application not work anymore? Have I charged my phone? Have I charged the controller? There's a lot of stuff to keep track of over there. Here I've got one product and it just works. It's flawless. I also love the fact that I've got a high definition, big screen on the front that's incredibly bright. It's got 1,000 nits of brightness, which means I can take it out in direct sunlight and not have to squint at the screen to see what I'm doing or try to find a tree that I hide under to, be able to get a little bit of shade. It just works. It's a wonderful product. Now, when the Phantom 4 Pro V2 came out, first of all, this is based on OcuSync 2 technology. It also has a Wi-Fi radio in there as well. But since it's based on OcuSync 2, which both of these quads in the Enterprise are, I thought, okay, the Phantom 4 Pro V2 should be immediately compatible, but it wasn't. They took a little bit of time to build in firmware to do the updates to work with that Phantom 4, and I was okay with that, but that expanded it to a third drone. Then when they came out with the brand new Mavic Air 2, I thought, okay, that's going to be a great drone to control with this as well. And again, they talked about it in the advertisements about it being compatible, and it wasn't initially. And I got a ton of questions on the channel about, hey, it says there it's going to be compatible with the Smart Controller. When's that going to happen? And I was lucky enough a couple weeks ago to get the beta firmware for this. And I'm telling you, I've been out flying with it for the last 2 weeks with the Mavic Air 2 and the Phantom 4 Pro, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal because I'm used to flying it with these guys, but this guy's in the car as well, and I've got to carry an extra controller there. And I was never really totally comfortable with the Phantom 4 integration before, but now this new firmware makes this rock solid, the connection. So there's no fear of flying either of these drones with the product. And I think they've done a really nice job in their aircraft management screen. When you first boot up the product, if the drones aren't powered up, it gives you an aircraft management screen and you can scroll through that from both of the Mavic 2 products to the Mavic Air to the Phantom 4 Pro V2. Select the drone you want to fly, boot up the drone, it'll sync up immediately and you can be off and flying. And it just expands the use case for this product tremendously. So all the folks out there that bought the Mavic Air 2 that said, boy, I'd like to get that Smart Controller because it looks like such a cool device, get out there and get the Smart Controller because it works now with the Mavic Air 2. Anyway, what you'll need, I'll give you some of the specs now. So the upgrade you're going to want to do on this is the brand new version. It was just published yesterday and it's version V01.00.820. Now what that's going to do is also update some of the applications because remember, these three work on DJI GO4. This one works on DJI Fly. So when you do the upgrade, you want to make sure you're on the latest versions of those applications as well. For DJI GO4, it's going to be version 4.3.36. And for the DJI Fly application, it's going to be version 1.1.6. All of those should be compatible, but you want to make sure you're on all those versions when you do the update on the product. Now you can do it over the air, but I like to use the DJI Assistant to do it. And the version you want to grab, and it's on their website as well, and I'll put links below, is the latest version for DJI Assistant 2 for the Mavic. It's version 2.0.14. I know that's a lot of technical details, so hopefully you'll write those down. I'll put a list down below of what you need to download to do this, but I used the Assistant to do it. I connected up the controller, and it immediately saw it and started doing the upgrade. Now, a couple of things I want to warn you about, and I'll do a whole clip showing you exactly how you can do that update. I'll probably do that tomorrow and post it on the channel. But a couple things to remember. Number one, it's going to do the update. You may have to resync the drones. So that binding operation where they know the drone knows the controller and vice versa, it may break that during the update. These two stayed, this one didn't stay. I had to rebind it. And again, I was running beta firmware, so I'm not sure if the final version even breaks that connection, but always check before you go out to fly because you don't want to get out in the field and have to worry about those kind of things in the field. So do the update, make sure that the firmware, the upgrade that's pushed here syncs up with your quads. Make sure that they're still synced. It may also change some of your settings. So if you've got default settings about your return to home height and all the other parameters that you can adjust for your gimbal movements and stuff, just check those. What I like to do before I do any firmware update is to check all those things, do screenshots of them, just to make it easier that if the firmware update does break something in those settings and resets them, that I've got a screenshot of it so I can go back in and dial them up. The other thing I'll tell you, and this is something a lot of people trip over, if firmware gets pushed to the quads, like if you're not on the latest versions of the quad firmware, do those updates as well. But be aware of the fact that when you have a battery in the quad and you do the firmware update, it may touch that battery and push firmware to the battery as well, because there's a smart controller in those batteries. If the only battery you've done that to is the one that was in the quad when you did the update, you may get out in the field, put another battery in that hadn't been updated yet, and you're going to get that "please update me" message. So you don't want to deal with that. So the recommendation is, if you're flying one quad, do the update, see if there's an update needed for the quad. If there is, do the update, power it down, put a fresh battery in it, power it back up, and see if you get a complaint on your display saying, hey, you got to do a firmware update. All that means is it's not updating the quad again. It's only going to update the battery firmware. So run through all your batteries to make sure you're set. But I'm telling you, it's a really easy upgrade to do. Once you do it, the screen is brilliant. When you bring up that main screen for the application, you scroll across and you pick the quad you want to fly. And again, if you're going to fly one of these three, it's going to bring up DJI GO4. What's interesting is this uses DJI Fly. So I'm thinking, when I got that bits, I couldn't wait to put them on there and start playing around with it, because again, the nerd me kicked in and I wanted to know, did they somehow update DJI GO4 to support the Mavic Air 2? They didn't. It still runs on DJI Fly. But what's interesting is when you bring up that quad in that aircraft management schema, it actually spawns the DJI Fly application. So it knows that it's flying a Mavic Air 2 and it can support that. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get a question on this, and I haven't got an answer for you yet. What about the Mavic Mini? Well, the Mavic Mini doesn't run on OcuSync 2, but it does run on Wi-Fi. And there's a Wi-Fi radio in here. And I can tell you that for a fact because I've actually binded this to my Tello. So I can use my smart controller to fly my Tello because it's based on Wi-Fi. I'm playing around with the Mavic Mini. It isn't there yet, but maybe there's a way for us to figure out how we can fly the Mavic Mini with that Wi-Fi connection. But again, it's enhanced Wi-Fi and there's all kinds of handshakes involved. So that may never work, but I'm working on it. So if you're going to ask me that question, it doesn't work now, but it may work soon, and maybe DJI is working on that. We'll see. But anyway, for now, this is really big news. The smart controller will support all the drones I have on the table in front of me, including the Mavic 2 Enterprise, which I don't have on the table in front of me because I lent it to a friend, Frank, and he hasn't given it back to me yet. So when I get that back, I'll test it as well, but I have no doubt that it's going to work on that quad as well. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. Go out there and do the update. If you've got this and you've got that, you want these guys talking to each other and you want to be out there flying it. So do the update and you'll be in really good shape. Now down below, I've got a bunch of links that'll take you to the release notes for the firmware so you understand exactly what it does. And I'll put a link down there for what versions you've got to run in the DJI GO4 and the DJI Fly app, and which version of the Assistant you've got to download, because it sounds complicated. It really isn't. It's super simple. And I am going to put another clip together that walks you through the steps of the upgrade using the Assistant in case you've never done that before. Don't be afraid. It's a very simple process, but really good on DJI to get this done. I know a lot of people are going to bellyache that it took too long, but just think about this. You bought a product a year and a half, 2 years ago that works with these quads. This quad just came out. This quad came out a little while ago. They've enhanced this product to work with these two future products. Didn't have to do that. They could have come out with a Smart Controller 2.0 that only work with these products and maybe even these products. But again, that's the beauty of having this technology in your hands, is that if you've got a company like DJI that's thinking about the consumer that bought this product, and they're building in those features and updates over the air that you can actually enhance this product to do things it couldn't do when you bought it, that's value to me. So I know you guys accuse me all the time about being the DJI fanboy. It's because of stuff like this that really gets me excited. Those over-the-air updates expand the capabilities of something I've already purchased without costing me a nickel. They didn't charge me $10 to enable this feature. It's in there and it's free. So get out there, get the update. And again, we've got a lot of summer kind of still here. It's fall, but it's kind of nice out there. It was 70 today. The sun was shining. I was out flying all these guys. So get out there and fly, do the update, just have a lot of fun before winter hits. But anyway, that's it for today. I've got a link below as well if you need some accessories. Of course, we've got accessories for all the drones. I've got some accessories for the smart controller. If you want to do that, that's great. We'd love the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I say this every time, hit that subscribe button down there, because I got a bunch of contests coming up where I'm giving away drones. We got the 12 Days of Drone Valley Christmas coming up. You're not going to want to miss those giveaways. Plus, I got a whole lot of cool tech I'm going to be testing, and I can't talk about half of it because I'm under NDA, but believe me, there's some amazing stuff coming, and you definitely want to be here to check it out. So that's it for today. Yes, I've had a lot of coffee, and yes, I'm jazzed up about this update. So go out and get it, have a lot of fun, and until next time, happy flying.